Lirandzu, good evening to you, and thank you very much for joining us. As we heard from protesters in the community, the horrific rape of those 8 women burst open a dam wall of historic complaints of police inaction in those areas, specifically complaining about the Kagiso police station. What are the strongest messages the minister and all of the others that were there present at the imbizo have taken from the community?
Yeah, thank you so much, Iman, for the chat. Look, it was a very difficult day, I think, on both sides, from the SAPS, the police ministry, as well as the community, who basically laid bare some of the horrific incidents that have occurred at the hands, allegedly at the hands of illicit miners or so-called zamazamas. And the most important thing that really came out today was that there has to be action, strong action that needs to take place to make sure that those 2 communities that you have talked about, but also along the rest of the communities along the West Rand, they essentially need to sleep at night. This has become somewhat of a luxury, Iman, where we're hearing that, you know, the ringing of guns is something that is happening all the time. We're hearing that people are being attacked inside their homes, women are being pulled out their beds and being raped in front of their families. We're hearing horrific stories from these communities, and this is the very reason why the police ministry has really ordered for extreme action by the SAPS to be taken. And this action that I'm talking about, Iman, is as a result of the National Commissioner announcing today, this afternoon, a couple of hours ago actually, that the West Rand is going to see the deployment of specialized units of the SAPS. These specialized units come out when there is a need, and of course there is a need in this area, as we have noted from the residents in our engagement this weekend.
And yet in these communities, Lirandzu, there are police stations. And so, you know, it begs the question, what action will be taken against members of the police stations mentioned by the community? We heard the Kagiso police station, to ensure accountability and a turnaround in their services even before you bring in reinforcements.
Yeah, and that's a very important element, because when these specialized units leave the area, and which they will once there's stability in the area, the police stations will need to be equipped enough, they need to be capacitated, they need to be able to be fit for the job. And what we're hearing from residents, Iman, is that they simply are losing faith in the men and women in blue. And there's a range of reasons why, but one thing that we're doing as a police ministry is that we're sending through the Civilian Secretariat of the Police, which is one of the entities of the police service, or rather of the police ministry, to really look at what exactly is at the heart of the issues there. Is it a situation where there aren't enough personnel? Aren't there enough cars? Are officers demoralized? What is at the issue of such police officers giving such poor services to the residents there? And we believe that after this action that was announced by the National Commissioner with regards to the reinforcement of the National Intervention Units and the Special Task Force and the K9, as well as the A-Wing, and other, the TRT, as well as the NIU that will be coming into the West Rand, we believe that after this intervention, the Kagiso police station, as well as the Krugersdorp police station, should be in a better situation. Of course, there needs to be strong action that needs to be taken against those police officers that are failing the community. That's one of the reasons why the IPID head, the IPID head, Jennifer Ntlaseng, was also at this very imbizo, where he was taking down names, where she was taking down names and acting on those officers that are being accused of these really, terrible things, going against their oaths in some instances. Yeah. So there's going to be thorough investigations, not only from the SAPS internal side, but also from the Independent Police Investigative Directorate, Iman. This is a very important process. It needs to run parallel with the strong action that we're going to be seeing on the ground to make sure that when, the zamazamas are flushed out, the area is able to be policed properly and effectively by the men and women in blue.
Why did it take a horrific tragedy, though, Lirandzu, for the upper echelons of the police to respond in the manner that they did? There is institutional dysfunction at the police stations you've mentioned, to the extent, as you say, the IPID was also there taking down names, and hopefully there will be consequent action. But why did it take a tragedy like this for police management to sit up and take notice when the community has been making these cries for years and years? It shows that something is fundamentally broken there, which was allowed to fester.
I don't think it's fair to say that, Iman, and I'll tell you why. Community engagements are conducted by the ministry at least twice a month. So just because these community engagements seem to be in the public eye because of obviously the scale of the situation, it doesn't mean that they are not happening. They are happening in all parts of the country. And in these community engagements, it is when we are going, literally with a fine comb to look at what is it that is wrong fundamentally with the police stations in our provinces. We know that there is a problem, and that is the very reason why we have a station accountability plan that was announced. The station accountability plan, Iman, if you allow me to just elaborate, but it basically makes sure that we're not just going there with impunity when it comes to the disservice or the substandard services that some stations are delivering, but also just to empower stations, because you find that sometimes there are reasons that are beyond the control of station commanders, and those reasons need to be addressed. For example, as I've mentioned, shortages of vehicles, shortages of staff, and so forth. And also sometimes it's the buildings that these stations are situated in. So it's those sort of interventions that need to be filtered in, and they need to be fast-tracked, as we are seeing now. And it doesn't mean that this is only happening now because of what's happening in the West Rand. This is a continuous process. We have over 1,000 police stations across the country. Could more be done? Absolutely. That is why we're really, working, full frontal, really, with the Civilian Secretariat to make sure that those teething problems are being sorted out. And of course, the National Commissioner is tasking his provincial commissioners to make sure that the problems are forthcoming and the solutions are as forthcoming, Iman, because we cannot, as a police ministry, be okay with a situation where residents are telling us to our face that they've simply lost faith in the communities, or rather in the police service. I mean, just to take some words from the president when he was announcing the release of the report, the Sandy Africa report, with regards to what took place last year in July, it was a trust deficit between the police as well as the communities. And this is a trust deficit that we are desperately trying to rebuild. And we believe that it is through actions of the police that this trust deficit can be mended.
Yeah, so much more I want to ask you on that score, but I want to come then to, of course, the spotlight that's now been placed on illicit, artisanal and small-scale mining. And I want to go specifically, though, to the scores of arrests that were made. How many of these suspects are you specifically charging with the rape and the robbery of that film crew?
So since the horrific gang rape was reported, over 300 suspects have been arrested in the West Rand area. Now, when we say suspects, let me elaborate. Now, these are people that are being accused and have been found to be without valid papers in the country. So suspected, not only are they suspected illegal minors, but also there are people that are in our country and that are accounted for. So they did face, the contravention of the Immigration Act. With regards to how many are yet to be linked, and this is what the police minister was really emphasizing on yesterday, that there needs to be speedy work done in terms of linking these suspects. We have now today have found out that the DNA results are back, but we still need to find out how much further have detectives of the SAPS gone in terms of linking which suspect to which crime. We're hopeful that this process is also going to be done speedily, because we know that the victims of this gang rape are eager to find out if there's going to be any justice for them.
So when might the first series of charges be issued against the relevant suspects?
I'm sorry, I missed that, Iman.
When will the specific charges against the relevant suspects be issued?
Well, as soon as the linking has been completed, because right now The 80 suspects that have appeared at the Krugersdorp Magistrates Court, they're accused of the contravention of the Immigration Act, and we understand that some of them are also facing charges of being found in possession of suspected stolen goods. But over and above that, for them to face the charge of sexual assault or for rape, they will need to be linked through DNA testing. That is why I've mentioned that the tests are back. Now it's up to the linking of these suspects. It's quite a process, Iman. We're talking about over 80 suspects, but we also know that some of these so-called zamazamas who have been arrested, they have been processed, and in their processing, we know that critical information has been taken from them, such as fingerprints as well as buccal samples and so forth. So we are confident that it is through these processes that the SAPS is undertaking upon arrest that they will be able to link some of the suspects. Yes.
Lirandzu, I can't leave without asking about the welfare of the women who and the crew that was attacked. What can you tell us about that?
Yeah, Iman, we met with the 6 of the 8 rape victims at the Alexandra police station last Sunday. And we had a conversation not only with them, but with their parents as well, because you can imagine some of them are so young, Iman. The minister today even revealed some of the state at some of which the victims were in. I saw them myself, Iman, and as a woman, it was just so difficult to be, looking at these survivors and who were saying that we are willing to work with the police to find the perpetrators. The Minister of Police today, during the Kagiso imbizo, revealed that one of the women was unable to walk after this assault on them. We know that there was a 19-year-old rape victim who was raped by 10 men. But what's really, really of concern, Iman, is that from the communities that we've engaged with in the past 2 days, they've said that there are times and incidents where women are raped by 20 men at a go in this area. So this is a kind of barbaric acts that need to be stopped immediately. And we hope that this intervention that was announced by the National Commissioner is going to do just that.
So much more I wanted to ask you, but we're out of time, Lirandzu. Thank you for talking to us. Lirandzu speaks on behalf of the Police Ministry.